Live on YouTube and listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.
Good evening, everyone. It's Monday night. You know what it means. Just three lads just talking sense for a couple of hours, just without the pub or the pints, unfortunately. But, you know, once we hopefully get monetized and, you know, I get the dressing room I deserve, then then maybe we'll have some room in the budget for our own little studio. I'm joined tonight by the normal titans of this show. I'll come to you first, Nathan. How are you? If anyone's listening on Spotify, I don't know if you could hear the smugness of Nathan in that. It's just him pulling his smug smile. Because let's just say for one of us, a very good footballing weekend.
Absolutely.
Nathan.
I mean, how many years has it taken for me to film an away derby victory? Absolutely.
Long time. Very long time.
And just hearing the tears of the Bristol City fans. Oh.
So can you actually drink Thatcher's Gold now?
I think I'd be able to now. By the way, anyone who
for the show, what's wrong with you? You had one job.
I did have one job, and I absolutely failed. I have not touched cider since we lost the first time against Bristol City out of lockdown. I cannot bear the stuff. I'm just thinking, every time I see it, I just think of all these losses at Ashton Gate. Not anymore, because we've done the double over them again, baby. Get in. Let's have another good show tonight, lads.
And we'll get to that very soon. Speaking of jobs, the World of Football podcast's very own nut job is here. Reece, how are you doing, my friend?
The King of Chaos.
More like the World of Football podcast greatest ever export. That is me. Sorry guys, everyone that's watching at the moment, my screen is offline. That's because I'm transferring new contacts to my new phone, because if you're aware of psychopaths and technology, mine decided to fuck up on me this week. So I had to spend close to 300 quid to upgrade my phone early. So this is me now finishing everything. So in the meantime, I am here. I'll be back on screen in about 5-6 minutes time. So don't get too tidy on me.
No worries. Just a pleasure to know that you will be not adding my phone number for the consecutive phone in a row.
You are towards the end, so that says all.
Of course. Right, let's get started. Let's talk about the Sevenside derby first. Nathan, do you want to put yourself full screen?
I am very tempted for it, but yeah, let's check her on full screen. So. Let me do the honors. Oh, here we go. So, Cardiff City, or should I say Bristol City 0, Cardiff City 1. Doing the double once again over Bristol City. What a performance it was. First half started incredibly slow. The only thing I remember was how class that away end was. If anyone hasn't seen it, go watch the video. Let's just say it was probably one of the most nuts and insane. It was a proper away end. None of this like fancy top six stuff. No, this was a proper, true, passionate away end. They billed us for, 37 quid a ticket? Disgusting. Gave us half the away end. Disgusting. They knew we were going to turn up in our numbers and just make all the noise in the world. Boy, what did we do? Made all the noise in the world and caused as much chaos
and
as we
sang about Kenwyn Jones.
Yes, an hour before kickoff. Hasn't played for us for nearly 10 years. Kenwyn Jones songs. Proper fan base right here. But apart from that, let's get back to the football. First half started really slow, 2 shots apiece. Ethan Horvath, USA, USA, USA. Absolutely fantastic in goal. Coming to the second half, we're like, okay, this is probably going to end up in 0-0. In comes a David Turnbull magic. He wears a magic hat. And when he signed for Cardiff, he said he fancied that. Into Perry NG. Nice little header. 6th goal of the season from right back in his
Perry!
Saw my mate The other day, he said to me he saw the white Pele. So I asked, who is he? He goes by the name of Perry NG. Perry NG. Who? Perry NG. Sorry, guys. I have waited so many years for this to actually do a podcast where we have won a derby. It is ridiculous, but it's finally here, so whatever. But Perry NG getting the goal, they lose all their confidence. And then what happens? We hold out for ages. They bring on Tommy Conway, scores an offside goal. They're celebrating like they won the World Cup, but they completely forget to see the linesman. Absolutely hysterical. So we wave them cheerio. They go downstairs as they all do, and we have a party. We're back, baby. 2 wins in 3 matches. I haven't lost in 4 games. We're pushing up the table. I mean, we're not getting playoffs. Everyone knows that. We're not strong enough, and I don't even want to get playoffs, to be honest. But yeah, there's one more derby to go, and we've won all 4 this season. Has that ever happened? Never. Like, I just cannot be happier. I think every single thing that happened on Saturday was just absolutely perfect. Over the moon. Absolutely over the moon.
Do you think you could win that final derby? It's away at Swansea, isn't it?
It is. To be honest, if we carry the momentum that we've got, I mean, that win against Stoke was fantastic. I know Stoke are absolutely terrible at the moment, and they're probably going to get relegated this season. But if we carry on the momentum for Bristol City, we have the momentum that's pushing us in as well, that we've actually won the first fixture. Because I think, only one season since they've got relegated, or we've got relegated from the Premier League, we've actually faced them at home first, in front of fans as well. So we're actually playing into the advantage this time, that we can actually go there and really scare them into handing away that double, which, by the way, has never happened for us. I mean, they've done it in 2 of the worst sides in a generation against us, but I mean, any team could beat us in those 2 seasons at the end of the day. So there's no reason to wet your pants about it, is there, Swansea fans? But yeah, that's just me being bitter aside from that. But to be honest with the way they're playing and the fact that they are vulnerable, I mean, they got Placheta and also Ronaldo as well. Both overrated players, but at the same time, they've got pace, and we really struggle with defending pace at our fullbacks. Like Jamlu Collins just ball watches. Perry NG's fantastic. He's the best right back in the Championship, isn't he? The best Scouse right back ever. Who's that? Trent Alexander-Arnold, a right back who can defend. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll have all the Liverpool fans crying now, but I don't care. I'm just so smug at the moment. I mean, I know I'm gonna get heat on Twitter and stuff, but who cares? We've won a derby away. Life is good.
Colour me shocked.
I mean, who would have bet on it, guys? Let's be fair.
To be fair, I had you to get pumped, so you have actually done me a favour.
Mm-hmm. And normally you are right as well, Reece, but yeah, I'm over the moon. I'm absolutely over the moon. But going back to what I was saying about Swansea, I think times just absolutely overload them. We got the advantage, as I've said, and yeah, let's push for it.
Nathan, you touched on Stoke and how they could get relegated. It's interesting you say that, because over the weekend on social media it's obviously been brought to light. Obviously, Rotherham are down.
Yeah.
Like they always are. They're down. But from Sheffield Wednesday in 23rd to Plymouth in 16th, there's what, a 5-point gap?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a load of teams that are tied on 38
Yeah,
points.
I'm just trying to share screen now, just of the table. Can you gents see the table?
Got it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, from 17th, isn't it, really?
Even 16th, 40 points Plymouth are on, and obviously there's 5 points in it. 5 points.
To
Sheffield
be honest,
Wednesday
this is
somehow
one of the
turned up
tightest.
with form.
This is one of the
tight.
tightest Championship seasons I can remember at the bottom.
Do you remember
normally
lockdown 2020?
Yeah.
5 games to go. I think the bottom 5 teams, none of them went down. With 5 games to go.
Who was it who went down that season? Was that the season we beat Leeds and then made the playoffs? I think it was.
I I can't remember if you. That was the year. That was your first year back in the championship.
Yeah.
So you had Neil Harris, I think, in charge.
Yeah, we did. Who went down that season?
Let me see if I can find all my memes to do with that.
1920.
Don't tell me I deleted it. It's one of my favourites.
Oh,
Yeah, Charlton, Wigan, and Hull. In fact,
didn't Wigan lose like 8-0 to Hull or something at one point?
Yeah, Wigan lost 8-0 to Hull, and they got relegated because of a points deduction. And Barnsley was saved. Well, who is it? Barnsley, Birmingham, Luton, Huddersfield, Borough, all saved by a points deduction.
Jesus.
That's ridiculous. Actually, let me...
Damn it, I can't find it.
Thank God.
Yeah, this is how mad that season was. If Wigan didn't get their points deduction, they would have finished 13th. So tight at the bottom. God, this season was... Oh, yeah, this was the year as well that Forest bottled it on the last day by like 4 goals.
Yes. Like, what is it? Forest had been in the
They were in
playoffs
sixth,
all
yeah.
season or something, and then bottled it on the last day.
Bottled it on the last day with a 4-goal swing against Swansea, wasn't it? Because that was the year we finished above them as well. Cardiff in 5th, Swansea in 6th. Then who was it?
Crazy.
It was Fulham. Was it a Fulham? Yeah, it was Fulham Brentford playoff final, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. And Brentford done us all a favour. Which never happens.
What, by not going up?
Yep. Wasn't their time.
Fair enough. To be fair, they won the playoffs a year later against Swansea. So
Exactly, that was their time.
Never forget that straight red card. Absolutely hilarious.
But yeah, obviously, like going into the final day, obviously, I know it's a while until then, but we know there's going to be twists and turns in this final 10 or so game running. Who do you think ends up going down apart from Rotherham?
The same too.
For me, Stoke are gone.
Stoke and Sheffield.
It's such a difficult one because Millwall are in really poor form.
Sheffield Wednesday have picked up some decent form.
Yeah. And Danny Roll as well, even though it's don't get me wrong, they had such a slow start to the season, but with the trends that they're in, they're going to be set to finish about 16th or 15th.
That's provided.
Birmingham do worry me a bit, but Huddersfield, they're suspect as anything.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
For me, I think it's going to be Rotherham, Stoke, Huddersfield.
I'm surprised to see that QPR came out of it.
To be honest, I'm not. Only reason being is I wasn't impressed. Well, yes, he is a former Cardiff City manager, and I really do like Gareth Ainsworth, but that squad, compared to the rest, should be staying up without a problem in the Championship. I mean, Lyndon Dykes, Albert Adoma, Ilias Chair, even though he should be in prison. List goes on and on and on. Like, it is a good squad at the end of the day, whereas Stoke, I know they had a great summer window, but that team hasn't gelled, and all of those players are just so overrated. And Huddersfield, they have got a League One squad and are overachieving with it.
Yeah.
Because since they got relegated from the Premier League, it's just been a fire sale there.
They've been down there the whole time, haven't they? I think
they have.
Did they have one
season in the playoffs?
Yeah. But that's
Paul Brown that was under.
Yeah, they lost to Forest in the final, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was only a couple of years ago. But apart from that, it's like I remember Nathan. I brought it up before. I remember when they went down, and they were already pretty much down there.
Yeah,
like
that was
down. And
remember
they almost got relegated again.
absolutely ruined them because literally when they got relegated as well, they did not have a summer window. Sold off like Aramoy, Congolo, I think, left as well. And that squad was just paper thin. And the thing is, they didn't have the financial backing to push it through.
And they didn't have the quality to match anyway. I mean, when they originally went up, wasn't it like against all odds pretty much?
Yeah, they were literally using Carlon Grant up front.
Mm.
And he was a goal machine back then, but I mean, it was really forcing championship players to just be incredible at this point. And David Wagner took advantage of it. And with the style of play that they were pushing, all of a sudden, bang, sitting top of the Premier League, which is still quite mad. Yeah, for me, I think it is going to be Rotherham, Stoke, Huddersfield. And Millwall, I will say as well, to add one more point in there, a point in Neil Harris at the perfect time, because I really think they would have been in danger.
Really?
Yeah. They were playing some awful football.
So what happened? Because Rowett left there early in the season, didn't he?
Yeah, Rowett got sacked. I can't even remember who the name of the guy they brought in, but he started off okay. But with the squad, I know it's not the greatest squad in the world, but it's decent for what you need to be a solid mid-table championship team. I mean, Millwall have always been renowned for keeping it really hush on like player contracts, signing fees, etc., etc., etc. But some of the football they were playing, I will get the name. What was the manager's name? I mean, it was that forgettable, the appointment. I can't actually remember the guy's name. Bear with me a sec, guys. Let's have a look.
Reece, how you getting on, my friend?
I'm getting on really well, actually. I'm flying through it. Not got a lot to go, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
That's good.
Considering when I started this call, I was at like all the players, like all the names I've got with A. I'm now down to M.
Nice.
Fair play.
Yep. It just means that if these guys ever text me again, it's a whole brand new conversation. So I apologise in advance to anyone.
Oh yeah, there you go. It was Joe Edwards. Was in the job for, what was it, 3 months?
Hugh Edwards.
Joe Edwards.
Joe Edwards. I was like, Hugh Edwards.
Got the wrong Edwards there.
I was like, wasn't that a player?
No, it's the newsreader on the Beeb.
Oh my god, Jesus. I thought you said Hugh Edwards, that's why.
Nah, Joe Edwards, man.
No, fair enough.
Who was he manager of before? Oh, England under 20s as the caretaker.
Because I thought they'd get, what's his name? The Welsh guy at Southampton last season.
Oh, who was it?
Nobody important.
You know who I'm on about. Former
Nathan Jones.
Nathan Jones.
Yeah.
I thought they could get him at one point. I was like, what?
To be fair, Nathan Jones is still in prison for crimes against pro wrestling, so who knows? I'm almost done, so keep going, lads. Honestly, keep going.
No worries, I'm just eating a cookie because I am starving.
Embarrassing.
Sorry, but I couldn't resist. I'm on like 3 different types of medication at the moment, and I need to eat.
That's fair. That's cool.
Yeah, go for it,
man. Right.
I've not got far to go. Literally, I'm flying through these now. I'm now down to fucking hell. This is rapid.
Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
The Scousers find a way again. Not for the first time. Won't be for the last time. I don't know. It's Nathan. Do you want to talk me through this? We're bringing back Ref Watch for a little bit here. Do you want to talk to me about Ref Watch for a little bit?
I think I will.
That's opportunistic. When I'm no on screen, you bring on Ref Watch. That's very opportunistic.
Absolutely unacceptable refereeing yet again. What was it? 8 minutes of added time. Referee just goes, "Oh, let's just play until Liverpool score a goal."
Sorry, this is
well
why
overtime. Go for. I mean, you got to have the chalky digestives there, haven't you? Go on. Oh, look at that man. God, making me hungry just looking at you. But yeah, moving back to Liverpool. Happens all the time. Like they're saying, oh, it's not VAR affecting us, and then they reel off the Jose Mourinho book of excuses going, oh, they were diving, oh, there were fouls everywhere, oh, the stoppage time equated to an extra minute. No, it didn't. Literally nothing happened. The whole 8 minutes was played perfectly. As soon as that foul, it just blows my mind, the incompetence and how you cannot read a watch. I mean, they've changed the rules this season so you can have a scoreboard on display. Oh, my brain is fried. I mean, it was good. It was a decent goal by Darwin Núñez. Just a shame that it was overshadowed by spilling over. And fair play to the Forest owner for chasing the referee down. Because at the end of the day, the bookings that came from it, etc., the referee deserves to be held accountable for that. I mean,
agreed.
There's absolutely no excuse for it. Fourth official, what on earth was he doing? Why didn't he? Because they all have mouthpieces and stuff. Why didn't he say, okay, ref, last time, you need to blow up? It's unacceptable. At the end of the day, it's more evidence that they are protecting the top six. And people are like, oh, it's just the luck of the draw. No, it really isn't. Oh, it's a genuine mistake by the PGMOL. How many more apologies are we going to have? It is.
Yeah. I understand since that Diaz goal, but I think this is getting ridiculous now.
This is taking it a step too far.
Fair play to Liverpool for finding a way. I won't criticise the team. Would never say die attitude, all that. You know,
yeah, because that's one thing you've got to give it to Klopp. He'll push it to the end, but it's just a shame that the referees have to overshadow it all the time. And I feel fuming for Forest because they were robbed of a point.
Seeing the owner on the pitch was quite refreshing. Now, Reece likes to call me a referee apologist when
because you are a referee. Because you are a referee apologist.
I'm not a referee apologist.
You're
I play
a
devil's
bigger
advocate and believe in fair argument.
No.
Nah, you like to go to your corner post office, get all the bubble wrap out there from at the back, wrap the referees all up in it, and stick him on the pitch.
No, I don't. I believe in fair. That's called fair argument.
That's all my contacts update, right? So now you've made it worse for yourself because now I'm actually coming back on screen and you've ruined yourself.
Now Reece tags into the match. Go on, Reece. Yes, there you go.
Yes.
So let me get this straight. You have declared that you're not a group apologist, right? Right. First of all, you are. See if it was legal to do it in public. I'm actually going to come on screen and say this because I'm not afraid to say it. So, old phone down, new phone sitting beside me. Screen on. You, my friend, if fellatio was legal in public, this is what you would do to referees. See, I've been very kind there. I've used the technical term. You, my friend, would literally get down on your knees and suck every single referee if you could. You would go, oh, Mike Dean,
I would
have
not.
a shot.
I would most certainly not. These battery referees do not deserve that.
Oh, Michael Oliver, yes. You refereed a good game yesterday. Give us a gobble. That is you, mate. You full on would take every referee and have a go.
Oh, look, Craig Paulson allowed another goal.
Muting my mic because you can't hack the truth, you absolute bastard.
Sorry, it's something I thought maybe now would be the only time I could probably cash that in, to be honest.
I'm Scottish. Don't you not know the rules about muting us? It doesn't work.
I'm Albanian. No.
But you never learn. Like, you are a special breed.
Well, we're special, all right? Yeah.
Yeah, because you're beneath us.
Yeah, because we're south, really south.
Oh, special. Special.
But no, what the point I was trying to make before Reece decided to stand in.
Before Reece decided to what? Stand in? I'm always stepping in.
Yeah, the referees deserve the criticism for all that. I've said before on this show many times that there will be weeks where I'm like, I just can't think of what they're thinking because it's just laughable.
They don't think. If they did, we'd all be screwed.
Yeah, true. But I actually like seeing the owner go onto the pitch and obviously show his passion a little bit and be like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? We've been robbed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just don't understand how you can put all these rules and things in place and still mess up even worse.
I can tell
Especially in
you,
this
but
country.
it's a harsh reality. I can tell you, but it's a harsh reality.
It's not a harsh
I
reality
seriously
to me.
think
It's because they don't learn. Like, honestly, like, teaching them the English language is fucking hard enough. Like, that's how bad they are. Like, incompetent. Like, I can't even say incompetent anymore because that's being generous. Like, they are an absolute shit show. There's no coming back for this for them. Like, I actually cannot find a reason to say, you know what, actually, these referees are actually all right. They're infallible. They've got no. There's accountability, and then there's English referees. It's almost like they're allergic to accountability. Like, they're worse than most managers.
I think so, because
you charge a little punk.
The thing that makes me laugh is you have, for example, Jose Mourinho's Mr. Oh, look at my book of excuses, and then you have other managers who, if they don't want to answer
even
a question,
Klopp's excuses.
Yeah.
The wind was not in our favour today. The grass too long. It's too wet.
Or who remembers the Thai special? At the end of the day, you got to remember it was raining.
Oh my god!
World's greatest Arsenal fan TV clip. But
you have to remember, it was raining. It was raining.
To be fair, it is
raining
an
for
absolute.
both teams. Come on, Thai.
To be fair, it is fucking funny when you do get that. It was raining outside. There's points and then there's that.
To be fair, I'd understand if it was like pissing it down with hail to the point where you can't see anything. You have to keep your eyes closed. But if it's just normal box standard rain, then cry more.
It's like taking a bird out for. It's like you're like that lassie you really want to go out with, and you're like, we want to go out for dinner. We're going to go somewhere nice, and she goes, "Where are you taking me? I'm taking you to KFC." Instant rejection. That is where we're at with Jurgen Klopp excuses or Thai excuses. Like, they're literally at the bottom of the barrel going. I guarantee it, and I'm not taking the mick out of it because I don't speak ill of the dead, but I guarantee at some point, right, it'll, like, by the end of this season, at some point, Jurgen Klopp will use the excuse that we ran out of influence by Bill Shankly. All the Shankly influence has died out or something like that. They'll just say something weird because that's what he does. It's quite scary. Like, some of the nonsense we get from him.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it's one thing we're going to miss in the Premier League, though. Instead of some just boring spreadsheet managers going, yeah, we lost because we had 0.1 XG. I want to be great.
Not even that. Not even with pundits as well. You get the stuff like that. Like, oh, they're conceding goals. They need to defend better. Yeah, how? Tell us what's wrong. Well, they're not defending good enough. Really?
Well, why aren't they defending good enough? Show the space. I mean, this is what makes me laugh, because with these pundits, we could literally make a 2-hour show of just tier listing them all. Or, oh, look, you've got a cap for England. You're going to be a pundit in the Premier League. It's ridiculous. I mean, at the end of the day, some of these pundits have got less credibility than Benjamin Bloom.
Jesus.
If you want to get some real juicy knowledge on Sky or something, and Sky has gone just...
There needs to be an interview. I remember when there were days when they'd have Danny Higginbottom and Liam Rossini together, but it was arguably the most insightful thing I was listening to. And then you get other shows when they've got Craig Bellamy and Tim Sherwood together,
where they just want to absolutely smash each other up like a WWE event.
Yeah, like Tim Sherwood is talking in his accent and making everything sound better than what it actually is, and then you've got Craig Bellamy, who sounds a lot different than I expected, but it's Craig Bellamy. So
most likable Welshman ever.
Oh yeah. Honestly, get him on the piss, get him some golf clubs. Great guy on the night out, surely.
Hide the TV remote for him like he did with the Cardiff City under-18s, but allegedly.
No. That just sounds. No, we can't have that. That just. Sounds
Oh dear. But yeah, going back to these referees, I know for a fact at the end of the season, there's going to be like some major statement or some overhaul by the PGMOL because the FA are going to come out and go, right,
we're going to get there's going to be an inquest, and then 24 hours later we're going to get we've reviewed the situation. We apologize, but we'll look to improve moving forward.
We'll investigate it, full stop, and then check the report in the bin, nice and easy.
How are you doing it? What are you going to do? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't you worry. We are going to sort it. Trust me, fam.
I just look forward to the excuse of we have reviewed your investigation and we've decided that you're a nonce. I look forward to the FA's head of state going, we have reviewed your investigation, Mr. Deitch. We have decided you are a baldy bastard.
And then when Sean Dyche rightfully replies in his press conference, oh no, there's your £30,000 fine.
Sorry, hang on. You can't say that. You can't breathe. £30,000 fine.
Oh, you did it again? Oh, there's your touchline ban for 3 matches. Neil Warnock back in 18-19 sneezes, or should I say, oh, you've made the wrong decision. Oh, there's video proof. £30,000 fine. Unbelievable.
I just look forward to the madness when you turn around and go, so, Mr. Guardiola, I heard you recently got married again. Yes, I married 116 charges.
And not one of them was Julia Roberts. And then Guardiola breaks down crying in his presser.
Not gonna lie, if I ever met Guardiola, I would I'd literally show him a picture of Julia Roberts just to see his reaction.
Can I also just very quickly say as well, what was the point in Sheffield United going up last season? Because they're currently 3-1 down. No, what was it? Nope. 3-0 down against Arsenal in 15 minutes.
I was going to say I've no long... yeah, I've seen the score. I'm pretty sure, I think it was Saka that literally walked the ball into the net. Like he walked it through the goalkeeper's legs.
How bad were the other championship sides last year?
That bad. It was one of the worst championship seasons I can remember for quality.
It was pish. It was just pish.
It was.
And it's all Cardiff's fault.
It's
just by proxy. We all just blame Cardiff.
Scott Dan, Junior Hoylett, Shane Long, and I can't remember if Andy Carroll was there or not.
Andy Carroll was there.
Are all nearly kept Reading up. That would have been a great 2011-2012 mid-table side.
Now you're being generous. That's like saying Man United are a big team right now in terms of how we play on the field. Or no?
Speaking of
we're a big club by name, but we didn't act like one.
Yeah. Reece,
give him the floor.
We're right now. We're basically what would happen if you gave all the power in the world to nuns. You would literally be sitting down going, oh yes, Almighty Father, declare our interest. Oh yes, I declare to the power that fuck the people. That is them. That is our football team right now. And it's fucking glorious. So, oh yes, mighty Father, thank you for pizza. And then I turn around and go say, what the fuck?
Oh my god. Reece, you were on the Devil's Advocate review yesterday, were you not?
Unfortunately, I was in pain. But we handled this with great respect.
Well, do you want to talk us through the Manchester Derby? Absolutely
not.
I've given you centre stage.
To be fair, I'm always centre stage on this place. I mean, come on, like this show is me. All right, what do you want?
Your show.
Yeah, obviously.
What do you want to know? Just give us your thoughts on the game and how it looked like at one point we tried to Mourinho masterclass without good players, a good mentality, and without Mourinho himself.
was going to say, you can't Mourinho masterclass if you don't have Mourinho. You can't even
Exactly.
You can't also Mourinho masterclass if you're not a defensive coach.
Or with any of these players. Like, even Mourinho couldn't Mourinho masterclass some of this lot. Let's be honest here.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean...
First half yesterday, because I put this into one of our group chats.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Mourinho get slaughtered for that first half? Didn't Mourinho get slaughtered for performances like those?
Mourinho
Especially when we lost.
Mourinho got slaughtered just for talking. Like, Mourinho probably gets slaughtered for, I don't know, shopping in Sainsbury's.
Mm.
Like, that guy can get slaughtered for anything. I mean, the guy's unlucky in every shape or form, but hey ho, this is the world we're talking about.
But the thing is, though, as we saw with Rashford getting that absolutely insane goal straight off the bat.
Oh, can we dive into that prick?
Yeah. But very quickly before we dive into it, because that happened, and then Man City coming back to it, that just puts the wall over the eyes of everyone. Whereas Mourinho, people are like, oh, Rashford scores. Oh, we've been battered.
To anyone that's watching and you love Marcus Rashford, be prepared for a fucking slaughter, because he's been asking for this, and I've had enough. He is an absolute fucking tosspot. Now, I say that with love, that he is an absolute asshole, because he has got no respect. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Marcus Rashford's got no respect for Man United, and the reason I can say that is because just look at how just look at what he did. Like, there's no, like, you cannot tell me, don't worry, we're all good, we're gonna do this the right way. We're gonna do this the right way.
This will be a fair assessment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, fair assessment. I'm always fair. You can't go from scoring an absolute worldie against City to diving. Like, I can't process that in my head, how you go from scoring an absolute beautiful goal to diving, especially when at the very start of the game he was very electric and he was very, like, in tune with, like, City's defence. Like, City couldn't keep up with him, like, the weekend, and then all of a sudden, boom. And I think it's a strong reflection about who we have and who we don't have in our team that really don't know what they're doing. And I think there's some players that are just getting all the control. But the one thing that I try to give benefit to doubt is, like, where he's at mentally. And I actually don't know anymore. Like, you used to think that maybe he's having issues behind the scenes or he's focused elsewhere, but I think maybe it's just time that maybe he needs to go. Like, he needs to find a new challenge. I don't know. But one thing is for sure is, as a whole, that performance at the weekend was diabolical. And the one thing that really summed up for me was the fact that we just couldn't change where we were playing. And we really just gave up early on. And if you're a fan watching that, imagine the pain. Not just myself, but like any other fan watching that, like the pain of having to feel that. Like, it's unacceptable. However, there is a consolation. We're still in the FA Cup. At least. For now. Until something horribly does not go wrong. But the game of the weekend, we really let City just completely dictate control of the game, and we just ran away from it. There's certainly a lot of fear in these players, and it's quite scary. But less we say on it, the better, because I can't keep coming into these players, you know. I would rather talk about something positive, because at the moment I can't find anything positive from our team. I can't find anything.
Yeah, I sent the video I sent into the group chat. Was it this morning, Reece? Of Hurricane Neddy. We're tired of talking about the negatives each week, and you know, my cousin's an Arsenal fan, so as you can imagine, he was a bit like, United are shit, but I needed United to do me a favour. You can't count on them to do anything. and he was giving it the whole Ten Hag this, Ten Hag that. I was like, so you think it's unacceptable to go full on defensive at the Etihad, 20% possession, one shot on target? He was like, yes, you can't do that. And I was like, great. August 2021, Arteta went with 5 at the back and lost 5-0.
Yeah,
It was quite funny luring him in for a bit, but reality of the matter is, you question the spine of some of these players. I think.
That's what I was going to. Yeah, some of them definitely do need to be questioned. But I think the one good thing that's reflection though is this team will continue to. They continue to fight. I'll give them that. They didn't actually cave in against City. It was just quality.
Yeah.
Like
at the end of the day,
prevailed.
At the end of the day, we were beaten. We weren't expecting a win anyway. And, Rashford scoring that banger inside 8 minutes made me think for a minute, Jesus Christ, for his interview in the week and to this is some crazy, 4D chess he's doing here. This is exactly how you respond. Now, I don't know if it's because apparently he was carrying an injury. I don't know if that's what made him just not want to take on Kyle Walker. But there were 2 or 3 occasions where it almost looked like he was scared of Kyle Walker.
Yes, I think so.
Including obviously when he went down and then City went up the other end and scored. But at the end of the day, I just think we were beaten by a team technically, physically, and mentally superior than ours. We didn't have our best team out, arguably. If we had a best team, a best set of players, we didn't have that out. But at the same time, we were just... It didn't feel like the battering we had under Rangnick a couple of years ago, but it felt like the loss we had under Mourinho there a month before he got sacked. Where it was just we almost had no hope as a fan base that we were going to win. Unfortunately, obviously you back your team when you're playing them, but it felt very much we set up a certain way and hope we get something.
Well, I think we will eventually resolve that. It's just we just need a bit of patience. I think this is why a little bit more like just making the odd joke to just take the mind off is certainly going to help, especially because for me that's my go-to. It's just like a little bit of a laughter, a little bit of fun. If we can do that, then we'll certainly get the best out of this situation, because I feel it's the only way it's keeping my head going in terms of like that way, like from a football perspective. But the good thing is, like, if you're watching football and all that, is having the emotional side, is having obviously having good people around you as well, because that's, especially if you want to watch a football game, you really need the mental side right now, and that really hasn't helped.
It's just depressing.
It's good when it works.
It's just depressing, and I hate watching my team like this almost every week. And I say every week because even when we win, sometimes it doesn't look convincing. A lot of times this season, me and Reece have done shows where we've gone, a win is a win, and we've detailed the problems, and it's the same stuff every week.
I'll take a defeat if we've generally been really poor, but in this case, like, I can't knock the team. I just don't like certain habits in the team. Like, there's certain habits that need to be removed. But if we can get rid of the habits, then we're okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, we've said it since Moyes left the club. Like, it's like you get rid of one group of deadwoods and one group of bad attitude that just drags the whole lot down, and then it gets replaced with the exact same. So overpriced, overpaid, arrogant players. One goes, one comes in. So prime example, Pogba goes, Anthony comes in.
Yeah.
And unless that mentality changes, you're not going anywhere.
Exactly. But I think we will be able to sort that at some stage. I think we will.
Yeah, especially
I don't know when. I don't know how, but we will.
Guys over now. That's a breath of fresh air that you need, and he'll ultimately upstairs, touch wood, if the Glazers listen.
I hope so.
He's going to really change the philosophy upstairs, and it needs to happen for you guys.
Yeah, I think it's
wanting to be Real Madrid. The problem is, if you want to be Real Madrid and have sort of like a Galactico style transfer philosophy, bring out the youngsters, etc., you can't be taking these massive gambles, which it seems that you've been doing the last couple of seasons and not scouting it properly.
And I think that'll change, and I think that's why I've got that positive about, even though the club, in terms of the performance at the weekend, the performance was bad, there's still that positive reflection that there is some good that can come from it. And I think that the good thing is that there will be some change, and I'm hoping with change, like certain players will get better. Like, I don't want most of these players to fail, but they're already being made to fail in different ways. So I feel like it depends on who is capable, and I think the obvious ones, obviously, people want to say is they want to see Bruno Fernandes get back to his best. They want to see Marcus Rashford get back to his best. They want to see Onana prove himself. Ideally, yeah, but we also want it to be done in the best way, and I think we will get there. It's just going to take a bit of time, but I got a little bit of optimism. A little bit. We'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the worrying thing is, like, throughout the season, it's just there's been a lot of questions about everyone in this team, whether it's the manager, the coaching staff, the players, the board, everything. And obviously with Sir Jim coming in, obviously him and Dave Brailsford will have outlined to Ten Hag the conditions that he needs to meet if he wants to keep his job. Because let's have it right, what was it, 9 defeats in the league, I think, by Christmas? There was no way, I think, that there was no way that his job was secure. You know what I mean? No one's looking at that thinking, right, his job is definitely secure. And, you know, I disagree with criticism about what he could have done substitution-wise, because there wasn't a lot he could have brought on. You know, we ended the game with Forson and Kambuala coming off the bench. Johnny Evans was putting a really good shift in from what I could see. Then obviously you got Anthony coming on as well. It almost looked like this 4-4-2 like with a diamond, or this 4-2-3-1 with Fernandes as some kind of striker, false nine. I don't know. I just think that it was very mismatched. We saw Ranić do something similar a couple of years back as well, which shows how much we're lacking in certain departments. But, you know, it's just difficult. And I saw someone online, not many people agreed with him, thankfully, but he turned around and went, Ten Hag's tactics were spot on, especially for that first half.
I don't know who actually believes that, though. I mean, I don't. I don't. I think it's nonsense. I genuinely do. I think it's nonsense.
Yeah, I just don't see how, because it like I said before, it was almost like you're praising a Mourinho masterclass for 45 minutes, but you didn't have Mourinho a good mentality or a good set of players to do any of that. What Simeone does, for example, that wasn't that. Simeone might have seen the result out. Maybe Simeone couldn't with this set of players. So yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of question marks. I mean, that back four was a little bit mismatched. You had Johnny Evans, who was signed as a fifth choice centre half, and you had Victor Lindelof playing at left back for half the game. You know, you had pretty much a first choice midfield if you want to count Bruno in the midfield with Casemiro and Mainu. But you had McTominay in there as maybe a potential goal threat because we didn't have any strikers. And you've got Rashford and Garnacho as well. So I just think that I think we can criticise the performance. You can maybe ask questions of the manager. I just don't. I think you question if players were up for it for the derby, because an example I want to use is I think in a lot of big games Arsenal have had, some of their players in their worst years have still turned up, even under Wenger or under Emery. Whereas I just worry that with this lot, when we play against City, for example, in those Arsenal games against Spurs, for example, form doesn't matter going into those games. Whereas with us, it feels like we win when we're on good form.
Yeah.
If we're on a bad run, it feels like we've got no chance. I know that's like a fan perspective. It's very easy to have that going into the game, but derbies don't feel like one-off games anymore.
Because the thing that I find with this as well, and that's leading on well from your point with like Emery, Wenger, etc. at Arsenal. We've seen it at Chelsea and Liverpool as well. Team selection and you getting into the side shouldn't be on merit, because at the end of the day, if, say, for example, Man United, your Rashford, etc., have a really, really poor performance on a derby day, oh, it's fine, they'll be in the team next week. If they don't give all the effort that the manager's expecting of them, especially under, for example, Wenger, Emery, and even Mourinho is a massive one for it as well. Like, look at Mourinho when he was at Tottenham and Chelsea. If the performance wasn't put in, they were out. And they were very swiftly dropped from the team. Chopped and changed, because at the end of the day, if you don't give your passion 100% into these derbies, you're never going to win it. And that's been the downfall of Manchester United. Players thinking they're bigger than the club, thinking, oh, if I have an off day, that's fine, I'll be in the team next week. I'll pick up more paycheck.
Spot on, mate. Spot on.
Yeah.
We don't see any other top 6 club.
Even under Solskjaer, we would go into big games and there would be a bit of me that I would think, we might get something here.
Yeah.
Granted, it was very simple, like drop back and hit him on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
But it worked. It was effective. Never beat Liverpool in the league, unfortunately. But in the bigger games, you could see that they'd go to the Etihad, or they'd play City at Old Trafford, and they could do something.
Yeah. The prime example for that as well is the way that it's regressed within the last 15 years. Because if we go back 15 years ago, and you said to a Manchester United fan, if you're in the year is now 2024, you were going into a Manchester derby as the overwhelming underdogs, where you're not expected to get a result against Manchester City. If you told a Manchester United fan that 15 years ago, they would shoot you. Because of where Man City were just coming up with their oil money, and obviously Manchester United, the big global juggernaut. Like the drop off is obscene.
Before in the year 2009, the annual year, there were 2 Manchester derbies, both at Old Trafford. Before the summer, so April, May time, United won 2-0. Ronaldo and Tevez scoring the goals. City then went splash the cash on your Adebayors and your Colo Torres and all them, man. And there was the famous 4-3. Where Michael Owen scored, but it was cut close that game. But the quality on show from City that day, like in terms of players they had on the team sheet, was different to what they had before. So we'd lost 2 key players in the summer, and they'd gained multiple key players that summer.
Yeah.
But even then, as a United fan, if you'd said to me, City are going to overtake you, I'd think, well, hang on a minute, we've got Sir Alex. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. Maybe you could never think about Sir Alex retiring, and even if you did, you think it wouldn't be this bad. So
even then in 12-13, like I'm pretty sure I remember Man United fans thinking, oh, this is going to be fine. Sir Alex has laid the correct foundations. Where Manchester United, with the size of the club that they say they are, I will say they, so I don't have to say we, but with how big Manchester United are, we will be just fine. That was the attitude of the fans at the end of the day, because they thought, well, the club will carry them through. But at the end of the day, David Moyes comes in, gets left a terrible squad, which everyone wrapped the wool over basically every single other football fan's eyes, in thinking it was a good squad, when on paper it was absolutely shocking in 13-14. And then this mentality into the Glazers, which Sir Alex Ferguson nipped under the bud, gets implemented, and has been implemented right until 2024.
Liverpool currently, I've said this before, they're not in a too dissimilar situation to that United side that Sir Alex left.
Yeah.
So if I was a Liverpool fan looking at whoever's going to come in, I'd look carefully, because, you see what the state of that squad. That midfield still needs more. The attacking players are getting older or too inconsistent. That back line still needs reinforcements, not just for squad depth, but Van Dijk might be getting on a little bit. So it's not too dissimilar. So
here's the other similar question with that. Even with, because obviously of how long Klopp's been there as well, And the change, by the way, is 5-0 and it's only been 35 minutes. Stupid.
5-0?
5-0.
All right. I mean, it's only Sheffield United, but let's just... Yeah, I
unbelievable.
I mean, fair enough. Arsenal beating Sheffield United as part of their title challenge. Very good. But to be honest, it's only Sheffield United. I think if Arsenal are going to convince me they can do it, they got to be doing this well, if you like, against the bigger sides. So what, they play City and Liverpool very soon, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big
both the way.
Arsenal to convince anything.
For me, if Man City beat Arsenal, they've won the title.
Arsenal
straight up, no question.
Blanket.
Even if Man City lost yesterday, I wouldn't have been thinking they might lose the title here. Because if anything, City would have just gone on a run till the end of the season and still won the league. Because what you've got is you've got an injury-ridden Liverpool side who are getting cut open in midfield a lot, and then you've got an Arsenal side who you could not trust to do anything. We saw last season, you couldn't trust this Arsenal side to look after the dogs because they'd take them for a walk and they'd lose the lead. You saw what happened at West Ham, Liverpool, and Southampton.
Yep.
So
exactly.
It's like in this scenario here. I seriously think if Liverpool beat Man City are out of the title race. Because that just goes to show, as you just said, with Liverpool, the amount of inconsistencies there. And that will show to me that Man City are going to lose games in addition to that for the remainder of this season, which will firmly put Arsenal in the title push.
Yeah, I think I see a scenario where Liverpool don't win based on what their squad is looking like. But it's at home, isn't it, for Liverpool?
Yes.
So whether you like Anfield or not, the fans, it will probably play to the Liverpool players to some extent.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Very true.
No worries. Shall we move on, gentlemen?
That does lead on to one of our topics later on, but make sure you check it out, guys, where we're going to push back into managers as well. So make sure you check around for that.
Reece, you know how you support the wrong team in Scotland?
Last time I checked, I don't.
How would you like to talk about the actual right team in Scotland?
Sure, Rangers are the best team in Scotland. There you go.
Okay. How about talk to me about how Celtic, for some reason, don't want the league and how Brendan Rodgers is trying to create this siege mentality whilst being the most hated man in the building.
Because he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, the guy doesn't know how to coach, for one. It's actually really fun. And two, if you asked him to actually coach, he'd be completely lost. The guy's a bellend. Like, he is a complete bellend.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the perfect word for it.
Yeah, I call it generous. The guy just doesn't know what he's doing.
It was last week we were talking about how there's, 2 more derbies left?
Yeah.
And how we were looking at how obviously Rangers both sides will look at both derbies there for the taking, but it almost looks like that Celtic are choking now a little bit. And whilst it pains me to say that, Rangers will be looking at this salivating right now.
Yeah.
They're probably thinking, the title can definitely be ours now.
I think so, especially with the morale that came into it with Brenda going back there as well. Real toxicity.
It wasn't met, was it? It wasn't very well met, was it? When Brenda went back there.
Absolutely awful. Mainly because of everyone knows the story of him getting sacked way too late at Leicester and absolutely ruining that club. But coming into Celtic the way he has, and also really selling and not providing back. Getting rid of David Turnbull for $2 million. What was the point of all that?
What was the thought process behind that?
I know it gives us massive squad depth, but that's ridiculous.
And the other thing as well, this wasn't exactly a refreshed Brendan Rodgers like they got him the first time round, because they got him 6, 7, 8 months after he left Liverpool. This is a Brendan Rodgers who they got 2-3 months after he walked away from the Leicester job saying, I can't do this anymore. You know, to almost hide from the accountability that he is part of the reason that Leicester side were down there.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Vichai, obviously, everyone knows Vichai should have had a brother. He was brutal. If you speak to, I'm speaking to Ant about this. If Vichai would have sacked Brendan Rodgers in December, if he was still alive, of course, which is really sad to talk about, but he would, because of how brutal he was and how much he loved that club, he would have had Brenda straight out, and he would have had the replacement lined up. But because of the respect that Brenda had for the club and etc. over the difficult times thereafter, obviously they got rid of Puel, etc., which was a really tough season for them with all the stuff that had gone on. At the end of the day, he just made it go sour for too long. They were forced hand, but it was in like February, March, and it was too late. And ever since then, his reputation has fallen down the pan, and he's not going to recover from it.
Exactly.
They weren't exactly in the greatest of form either in December, because I'm just looking, because they started the season poorly.
Yeah.
Then they seem to just pick up points, and they seem to get themselves around 13th, 14th. They think, okay, they've recovered. But then they went back down again. It's almost like they got out of that position and then sleepwalked their way back into the relegation battle. And I think that...
Yeah, in the middle part of when they sleepwalked back into it, Vichai would have sacked him, definitely. Because he would have expected Champions League that season.
They just don't know what they're doing, and that's indication of it, and that's where they need to change up, and I think that's what they've learned.
Yeah.
I think they have learned that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens when Leicester do come back up. But, you know, I think with Celtic, obviously, I think that it's just not very good right now for them. And I do worry now that I think what hasn't helped is that Mick Beale is not at Rangers anymore. Because Clement has come in, he's done a job, he's looked very impressive, and suddenly they've caught up to Celtic. You know, I think Reece, even you said that you weren't expecting a title challenge this season.
No, I didn't. I didn't expect it to be so quick. Like, that's what made it more fun. Like, that's certainly what made it more fun for me, but I didn't expect that at all. Like, I completely didn't.
Do you think Rangers win the league now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I worry that Rangers win the league now. I just think this is
too
many losses now for Celtic.
Yeah, for me, Celtic have blown it. They were in the driving seat. Brenda just kills it off. Because at the end of the day, how can you have Mick Beale in the same season and still win the league? Incompetence.
If Rodgers was to go to, like, at the end of the season, who do you guys think should Celtic look for?
I don't think they should. I think they should just leave as is.
Well, you would say that, wouldn't you?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that because I'm not saying that for the absolute humour that it is. I'm saying I think they should, because if you bail on him so quickly, then how can he physically have an opportunity to turn it around when he's already got a proven record at Celtic anyway? That's my point. Yeah, it's not worked well this time, but also it's a different.
I mean,
like it's totally different to what it was the first time. So I think he's having to change it up a little bit.
The thing that you got to remember as well,
now?
And Reece has such a good point. When Brendan Rodgers came in, it was basically, it was just Celtic at that point. You had Hearts and Hibs in the Championship. I think literally it was just Celtic and Aberdeen at the top of the Premier League.
Yeah, Rangers weren't there yet. And then
so at the end of the day, if Celtic went on a poor run, it was fine for them. It was fine for Celtic because at the end of the day, they were just going to face like Inverness Caledonian Thistle or something. Get a nice 5-0 win. There we go. Morale's back up. Sorted.
Even the first,
you don't have that now.
The first derby when Rangers came back up, was it 5-0, something ridiculous like that in early September?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I think the Manchester Derby was on that day as well, actually. I could be wrong, but yeah, so even then there was no real competition there. And obviously when Brendan Rodgers left, I think Steven Gerrard had just come into to Rangers, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think that where Rangers are now, there is a platform for competition from them to Celtic, and I just think that it'll be interesting to see what Celtic are like next season. I think if the same inconsistencies happen next season, Rangers will win the league again, and I wonder if the board of Celtic will look at potentially making a change. I'm not saying they're going to quickly bail on him, but I just think that when you've been in pole position like Celtic have, and then you've been helped by the fact that Rangers have had Michael Beale in the hot seat, I just think that to find a way to somehow bottle that league isn't good enough. Now, there should be changes this summer regarding personnel, and it'll be interesting to see what Celtic's recruitment is like in terms of incomings, and then also see if who they let go of, if they let go of anyone substantial.
Theoretically, yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year or so, I think. Not just this season, but for next season as well. See if Rangers do win it this year. See how they look to retain it next year.
I think one thing you'll see though is, like, in terms of retaining it, they'll just change up a little thing. Like they'll just change. They'll just change the defensive structure a little bit. Certain players will be moved on. Rangers will be. I think Rangers will be fine. It's just, will they want to do more?
I agree.
Because, come on, has he had much recruitment in January?
No.
So he's just doing this based off the squad he had.
Yeah. Which I think he's doing a very good job for, considering like what Celtic have in their ranks, even though they've regressed. But fair play to him.
Yeah, same. I think he's worked hard. I don't recall him bringing in anybody, signings-wise. I don't recall anyone coming in, so it definitely feels good to see. It's just how far will he go? That's my question, and I'm hoping that it works out for him. I hope it works out for him.
Yeah. Before we move, before we move on to the final topic of the evening, Reece, I think it's safe to say Inter are going to win Serie A now, aren't they?
Yeah. They will.
I think you've got to give credit to the board for their recruitment. The likes of Jan Sommer for, it was either a free transfer or virtually no money whatsoever. And
I do. I absolutely do.
Bringing in, and even Arnautovic, bringing in players who aren't your household names, but they fit. I don't want to throw the word Moneyball in there, but there's a very Moneyball approach with Inter, I think. You bring in Marcus Thuram, you bring in Jan Sommer, because obviously the budget is against Inter Milan. We know about their financial troubles for a few years. Even what Inzaghi's doing in his midfield with Çalhanoğlu and Mkhitaryan, with a combined age of 65, something like that.
Oh, they're in serious debt. Like, they're in serious debt. They don't know how to fix that. I love it.
They're never going to fix it at this point. Not without selling everyone. But I just think that you've got to really praise what is not the job Inzaghi's doing, but like the style of play, like how he's getting them to play.
I praise what he's done. Like I credit where credit's due. Like, I won't take that away from him. Credit where credit's due. I'm not going to take that away from him.
I find it ridiculous, the notion where I've seen certain people look at their lineup and go, that is a terrible team. How are Serie A's washed? But when you actually look at the players in that team, for example, it's very nice to see Christian Aslani score tonight, currently 2-0 up against Genoa. But
Mhm.
when you look at their back three against Atletico Madrid, for example, Pavard, De Vrij, and Bastoni, Sommer in goal. You can't tell me that's not a good backline and goalkeeper. That's very solid. You know, and you got Barella, Çalhanoğlu,
It's also very
Mkhitaryan.
meticulous as well in terms of the recruitment and how they've actually operated. It's a lot of free agent signings, and that's my biggest issue with it. It's a lot of free agent signings, but they've certainly been very effective, and it's a strong suiting for them. This is the issue where clubs like Celtic have, for example, like where they had a lineup and then they decided not to invest in it anymore. This is their own undoing. Like, I don't see Inter's dominance lasting long, but they've definitely made it count this year, where Milan's been inconsistent, Napoli's been inconsistent, Juventus have done a Juventus, which we're not really shocked about. But in terms of Inter Milan, they've certainly made this season count, and they're en route to matching the record that Juventus set when Juventus hit record points. They're already same points on the same amount of games, but Inter Milan have got a better goal difference record. The only difference is Inter Milan's goal difference compared to Juventus when they were that record 100 points team, 102. They were 19 goals worse.
It's almost like playing three centre backs isn't defensive.
Because it's not.
You see?
It's
Perception.
It's a stupid. But everyone knows that. Like that's not hard to decipher. Everybody knows. Like it's not stupid.
You'd be
to figure out, like,
surprised.
but that's people that don't understand. It's like teaching a monkey how to fly. It's not going to work.
Not unless you give them a lot of Red Bull.
That ain't going to work either.
Well, we can only hope.
Not really. We don't want the fear. But it's just laughable, you know. It's just laughable.
It's right now. It's a battle for second place, and
it's Juventus. I don't think Milan will get second.
Purely out of a job in the summer.
Yeah, I think Roma can catch them as well, because Roma's now the second highest scoring team in the division. They can certainly catch them. Roma are the second highest scoring team in Serie A. They've got a good chance. But we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, looking at the table, Roma in 5th now. 4 points off Bologna in 4th. 9 points off Milan in 3rd. It is possible, you know. Roma hitting good form since De Rossi's been in there. We obviously know what Milan are like. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. And it would be an incredible achievement, actually, if Roma got Champions League football.
If they get Champions League football, fair play to them, but over the course of the season, they haven't deserved it.
No, of course not. I mean, obviously, since De Rossi's gone in, it would be quite incredible to see, obviously, the turnaround there. But, you know, interim manager, new manager bounce and all that. We've seen this story before. You know, if Roma make him manager permanently at the beginning of April, then the wheels will fall off. We've seen it before.
Yeah,
so hopefully Roma don't make that same mistake.
I think Roma need to stick with an experienced manager. They shouldn't be playing it stupid and giving it to an ex-player. It's not wise. It's very stupid of them to do it. And I think it'd be best if they just don't do it. Because they don't need it. They don't need to.
No, they don't. There's actually quite some interesting options out there for Roma.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of good options for them. There absolutely is good options. It's just
Nathan, you want to add to anything to
that? I think you guys have mostly covered it. It's to the point, really. I literally don't have anything to add.
That's fair enough. Moving on to the final topic of the evening. If you watched or listened last week, obviously we snuck in a little segment without sneaking in about manager perception.
Yes.
And it was actually a really good conversation, just talking about how perception is a problem, because you look at certain managers and you think, oh, it must play like this. Like I saw someone call Thomas Tuchel a wish version of Mourinho, and I was like, where'd you get this from? And I think they said the same thing again today, and they said, I'd rather have Oli back at United than Tuchel, because Tuchel is this, that, this, that, this, that. And I was thinking,
well, it's not right.
Do you actually know it? Do you actually know anything about Thomas Tuchel? And I wanted to bring this back this week in almost two parts. Firstly, I want to talk about players going in to management. You look at big household names of the golden generation, so-called, the likes of your Rooneys, your Lampards, your Gerrards, and bar Gerrard from his time at Rangers, it's not looking that great. Gerrard is now in the back house of Saudi Arabia. Lampard is
nowhere to be seen.
Just probably on the couch eating a lot of like crisps or something.
Well, I don't know, like, if anything,
Rooney's just
he won't let
Rooney's just still kicking off about his reception at Birmingham.
Yeah.
But then you get
better off sticking with punditry. I don't think Rooney's going to make it as a manager. I personally don't. I don't think he's good enough to be a manager. I think he's a good guy, but he's not a good manager.
For me, with Rooney, I seriously gone.
Fabrizio Romano. Aston Villa statement of clear post-tax operating loss of 119.6 million for the 22-23 season. In quotes, very they are up shit's creek.
So what is this to do with the fact that they might have to sell players for financial fair play?
Watkins will be the first to go.
Actually, when you read further into it, I think they're fine.
You'd think that. But we know full well it's not always the case. It's definitely a shit show, and it's hilarious.
But then again, is that just general operating loss, or is that actual an FFP breach?
That's what I'm curious about as well.
It's genuine loss. It's genuine loss. That's what it is.
Because I said the reports came out a few days ago that Villa will probably be looking to sell players, or might need to look to sell players. The likes of Douglas Luiz and Ollie Watkins.
They might be in that situation.
They'll need to. It'll be specific players they'll need to.
Yeah,
they'll need to.
Where they've overspent and it's caught up to them, but I feel like there's a bit of a different scenario with Wolves and Villa, because I think Villa have done it sensibly.
They've not spent obscene amounts of money.
And the thing is, they've got really rich. They got one of the richest owners in the Premier League to back it. So,
plus they were in Europe this season as well.
Yes, and another scenario as well. 22-23, literally every team was showing losses because of COVID.
Huge losses.
Another reason why I think they'll be fine. Because ultimately, as long as they're fine on the FFP side of things, I mean, operating losses, not really much to feed into. It's if you consistently do it. But I think they'll be fine if they do things sensibly, which I think at the moment they seem on doing. But we'll have to wait and see on it.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. It'll be very. I think with FFP, it's going to make the summer very interesting for all the clubs because you're seeing more and more about these clubs.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, my opinion on FFP is regarding ownership. I get obviously don't spend beyond your means, but if you've got an owner who's ready to put money into the club, I feel like they should be given like the first 3 years to put as much money as they want into the club, and then after do you know what I mean? Because that way you're investing in the club, you're investing in your business, if you rather, and you're allowing for it to improve.
Yeah.
What's the point of Newcastle having the richest owners in the world, and they're not allowed to spend as much money as they have? Really, the more and more you look at it, it almost looks like they're trying to protect the top six, which is elitist. And to be honest, look, I'm a United fan. I want my team to be the best in the country, but realistically, like, if Newcastle have money to spend to surpass us, why shouldn't they?
Yeah.
I understand for teams like Everton who bring it on themselves by spending obscene amounts of money on just some absolute crap.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's very
true. But then
true.
again, with Everton, they consistently did it, though. That's the thing that gets
Everton
me.
did it for years.
Also,
like 5 consecutive seasons overspending, operating losses, stupid amounts of. Obviously, we had the stadium build, Finch Farm. The list goes on and on and on. But yeah, it's
when the owners of Newcastle, when they picked up Newcastle, it wasn't really debt ridden, was it?
No, Mike Ashley had those books so balanced.
Yeah, that's why they didn't spend really that much money for like years. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I feel like owners should be able to go into. I know this is a bit of a segue, a little side segment that we weren't planning, but realistically, I feel like if I own a football club, I feel like I should be allowed to put as much money into the club. If it clears debt, for example, I should be allowed to.
Well, you technically are allowed, though. You are technically allowed to put in as much money as you want. You just have to prove that you're not at a financial loss. That's the difference.
And you also can't. It's mainly about spending on players.
Like, this is what people.
That's what I mean. If I've got buttloads of money and I want to spend it on players, why shouldn't I?
Like, look at the prime. Well, I think with that it just causes elitism. But
this is what people don't understand about FFP, though. That's what. Yeah.
With their training grounds, like 80 million in for Maguire. Oh no, don't invest any money into new players. Let's build one of the best training grounds in the world and the best youth academy. There you go. Let's make our own and be sustainable. That's the way to go.
This is the problem with people when they don't understand FFP, though, and what they can and what they cannot invest in. People just assume that they can do whatever they want. You technically can, but there's an element where you still need restraint. And if you haven't got restraint, then you're not going anywhere. And I think people eventually realise that, and when they do, it's going to be much better. It'll be so much better once they figure it out, and eventually they will.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like one thing I've said is like, for Everton, for example, like the amount of money they've spent over the years has been beyond ridiculous, especially when they got the Lukaku money and they got into the Europa League, and some of the obscene amounts of money they spent on just some crap players was ridiculous.
Yes, that's right.
But moving back to manager PR
it's all about being smart. It's all about being smart and being an opportunity. That's the difference. Once you figure that out, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But gents, I want to touch on with this. Obviously, why are the likes of Gary O'Neill and Leon Rosenior they did play in the Premier League during the pure Barclays era, not at the top level like Rooney, Lampard and Gerrard did. Is there a coefficient as to why they're doing better and then these bigger names aren't?
I think it depends on the player, to be honest, and who you are. Because, like, Rosenior, great player.
I agree.
And really great player, in my eyes. In somewhat, I can say, underrated. But the way he's worked up to be in the position he is now at Hull, He's done it sensibly. He's done it slowly. He's done it by learning on the job and not rushing it. Not like, for example, where you see your Lampards, your Gerrards, your Rooney's just getting absolutely rushed into a job without experience. Like, you can an example is John Terry. Look at the way he's trying to get involved in the game, learning the experience through Villa. So, for example, winding down his career, goes into Villa as a centre-back, but as a coach at the same time as well. Then when he retires, retaining that, but you just stop playing and you go into coaching full-time. Then he's up to the assistant manager gig, for example, ends up going to Leicester. That's the way you should be doing it, and then maybe break into management, not just being rushed in, have absolutely no tactical knowledge, full stop, and then
doing their work experience. Their internships, their work experience, rather.
Exactly that. Because, say, for example, what would be the best scenario? So, I don't know, you work for a telecoms company. Instead of starting at the bottom, learning how to, I don't know, pick up a phone and answer it, you get chucked in charge of a team of 20.
That does feasibly work, yeah.
At the end of the day, who would you rather in charge? The kid who's been learning on the job for 5 years, or just some guy coming into it who's had leadership roles but not in that industry?
I've had that in my workplaces. We in the same job I'm in now, I was doing a couple of years ago. We got a new branch manager. He came in, lied on his CV, and he was basically a glorified team leader for like the clothing department of like Morrison's or something ridiculous and just irrelevant like that. And then he goes from that to being the manager the manager of a big company, a big store, etc. Right?
Yeah.
The guy was not trained properly either. So the guy was learning on the job whilst with us. And then the pandemic hit, and it was the blind leading the blind. The branch manager that's there now is someone who rose through the ranks, came in as a supervisor from another place. So as a supervisor one place, came to the company as a supervisor, then was promoted to assistant manager, and then branch manager, and then moved from one branch to another. But that's a gradual rise, and he's doing really well at his job. But I do agree with the idea that it comes down to who the person is as well. Because there's someone I know personally who's currently doing that. But I don't want to be harsh on her, but she's not as good. Her leadership has come into question, for example, by comparison. She's good at all the paperwork side of it, but she's not confident enough to be a leader. Whereas the other gentleman is. You can see he's got that authority, but, you know, you can have a laugh with him and all that, but you can see he's got the respect of everyone in the workplace. So there's obviously that balance, but you can see this still relates to football. The only problem is John Terry was looking at jobs, I think, in bottom Premier League or even the Championship, and now he's thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe I should go into League One or League Two. You should have been looking there in the first place.
Yeah,
what gives you the right to look for big jobs? I feel bad for managers who are in League Two or League One who miss out on opportunities for a step up. That's why I like the Swansea appointment of Williams, is his name?
Luke Williams.
I like that because it's a manager who's done well granted at lower level, and he might be out of his depth, but it's giving an opportunity to someone on some form of merit. I don't like the idea of, okay, let's get a big name in. No, there's no merit. They don't deserve that. I feel bad for managers in League One and League Two who probably deserve a shot at a higher job, a league up, for example, but don't get it because there are these England golden
generations. The prime example that I can remember from a couple of years ago was put this into perspective. You're a championship owner. We're going to go around. Let's go to 2018 mark here. Would you rather employ Danny Cowley and Nicky Cowley, absolutely fantastic at Lincoln, really great up-and-coming manager who understands the team and it is letting everything just fly up the leagues, rebuilding a broken National League side and getting them practically into League One? or would you rather get Frank Lampard and Liam Rossini? Frank Lampard never had a job in his life before, and Liam Rossini, he was a real grafter as an assistant manager. What risk would you rather take there?
You'd go for the proven option.
Yeah.
Someone who actually has a CV. Especially, obviously, it depends on scenario. Do you know what I mean? Like, I criticised QPR's appointment of is it Cifuentes?
Yeah.
I criticised that earlier in the season because I thought in the position QPR were in, regardless of how good their team was, they were still down bottom of the league. And I feel like in a position like that, especially for a division as difficult to get out of as it is to get into from League One, for example, as the Championship, you need tried and tested.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Nigel Pearson has just left Bristol, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
Recently. Nigel Pearson would have been a name I would have looked at potentially because he's tried and tested.
With Nige as well, the thing you've got to look at, and I still laugh at Bristol City fans slating their owner for what he's done for the club. But they're saying he's been very, very thinly backed. But that's because Bristol City have overspent. So they technically shot themselves in the foot, got a real Championship specialist in, but can't do anything with him because they can't back him with what he needs.
Yep, exactly.
So that's the way it can backfire. But another example for us is obviously us getting in Errol Bullitt. Not proven at all in the Championship. In fact, he's only had jobs in Turkey, but a lot of people say he's a failure. But at the end of the day, he managed Fenerbahce, one of the biggest clubs in Turkey. They call him a failure, yet he had, 65%, 67% win ratio? Which is excellent. Yep. And the only reason
it's only going to be
he considered a failure was because he didn't win the league.
It's only going to be... Yeah, that's the point to them, though, is like there's winning and then there's not getting what they demand, and that's success.
Yeah.
You gotta give what matters to them, and if you can't give that, then you're going nowhere.
100%.
Which is major. We know that ourselves.
One thing I do want to raise though is obviously when you look at Gary O'Neill, for example, in his Premier League career, played for the likes of Portsmouth. He went, I believe he played in the Championship with West Ham. He played for the likes of Middlesbrough. Yeah, he's played for Cardiff
as well.
Yeah. But during Gary O'Neill's Premier League years, there were times when the teams he was a part of sacked managers.
Yeah.
Team wasn't doing well. So obviously, as you can imagine, he's been in that dressing room that needed galvanizing, that needed group together, that needed to come together and, fight their way out of bad situations, for example. Whereas when you look at the Rooneys of the world, and granted, at Chelsea, Lampard experienced manager sackings, but there was that nucleus of Lampard, Drogba, Terry, Cole and Cech that carried Chelsea, especially after Jose left the first time.
And on top of that as well, with Chelsea, you never exactly saw them in a relegation battle, did you?
No, exactly.
It was always let's just sack a manager who was 7th, for example. I mean, Abramovich was that brutal for it.
Scolari wasn't doing well, and they were like, can we still make top 4? And eventually they finished 3rd, having beaten Arsenal 4-1 at the Emirates. But I just wondered, does a player's playing career...
They're a strange bunch. That's all it is. They're a fucking strange bunch.
But could, Gary O'Neill, you look at his playing career, especially when he went into West Ham, for example. Do you remember the nut kick? Do you remember how bad they were when they went down? And how bad the club was? Do you think, as a player, do you think situations like that have an impact into how you turn out as a manager almost?
Oh yeah, I think so. any experience can dictate you as a manager, dictate how you are going to be. Some managers who won't betray their style, even if they get sacked. Like Alex Ferguson got sacked off St Mirren, and he won them the league. He won the first division with St Mirren, and they still sacked him.
I think ego plays a part as well.
Important,
massively.
Oh yeah, ego's always important. You got to have. You need to have a big ego to survive as a manager, but also succeed. If you don't have that, you're not going to make it. I think we've seen a lot from most managers in recent years is have an ego, but they don't have an ego to succeed where you really want them to succeed.
But there's also personal ego. So
it's a big bugbearer.
In the sense of the likes of, how do I put this? You know, like class players going, like Gerrard, Lampard and Rooney, getting frustrated that some players can't do what they could in their career. Whereas Gary O'Neill's gone in, for example, almost like used a bit of common sense, got the team together, gone, right lads, let's do this. You know, without all this like need for certain, we need to play this style of play, or we need to copy them, or right, we're going to do false nines and, you know, centre backs in midfield, and why can't you finish from 40 yards like I could in my career? Do you know what I mean? I just think that kind of humble career in the Premier League, I know it sounds weird saying humble career in the Premier League, but
it gets the best out of the players.
It's better because the players feel that this manager's one of their own a little bit. It's not some guy going in, look at me. Like, remember, like when I was at Chelsea, we used to do this. Well, great, but this isn't Chelsea. When I was in Scousland, Liverpool, we didn't win leagues, but I'll tell you what we did do, right? We played in the Champions League and we won that. What have you guys done? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying this is how Frank Lampard and Stevie Mee used to talk to his players when they were coaching. But what I'm saying is that having a career like Gary O'Neill or Rossini, who solid players as well, by the way, solid players in their teams. They weren't like the elite stars of their team either. They were solid players that you could probably count on. And I wonder if the way their playing career turned out is a benefit to how they are as coaches. Because let's not forget, Rooney hasn't had Rossini since he's left Derby, and Rooney's career credibility has gone down, whereas Rossini is just on the up.
Because at the end of the day, it's that combination, isn't it? Because every coach has got to have an assistant manager, and ultimately it depends on the strength of that. Yeah, and when you look at like training and stuff, who's the if you like it's? I mean, I know it depends on the club and the manager, but who do you actually see training the players, the manager or the assistant manager?
It's always the coaches, unless the manager is very hands-on and likes to coach.
Exactly. I mean, the only example I can think of in the Premier League is Eddie Howe. So that first trade, the comments on when Eddie Howe took training for the first time was just hilarious, and it just goes to show how bad Newcastle about it. But
just because it just looked like he was being encouraging, and he looked like he was very like hands-on as a coach.
Yes. Whereas they say, Steve Bruce, he's going to get his Gregson stand on the sideline and shout his orders for 10 minutes.
How was the sausage roll, did you say?
That's the one. What a man.
How was the bacon bat, did you say? Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I saw the funniest tweet recently. That it was, when he was being linked with his South Korea job.
Yeah.
And someone got the same photo.
I'm losing the will to live because of that. That has made me lose the will to live.
How was the dog leg, did you say? I don't know why. I just found that way too funny for some reason.
That's hilarious.
Oh my god. But yeah, actually, speaking of Steve Bruce, it brings me to the next part I wanted to discuss, which is I worry Gary O'Neill, obviously, the way his career has started. Obviously, saved Bournemouth last season. Went in initially to like hold the fort for a little bit, and they went, you know what, we'll give you the job to the end of the season. And we've seen many times that doesn't work. Once they get the interim gig permanently till the end of the season, they just go downhill. Gary O'Neill did it quite well. Obviously, left Bournemouth. Were we surprised? No. It was American owners going for the nice fashionable name with a nice fashionable football, but Gary O'Neill we thought deserved another job. got it at Wolves. He's done very well there this season. Given what expectation was of Bournemouth last season and Wolves this season, you could argue that he's keeping them up from relegation. I wonder if there's a scenario where 2-3 years down the line, Gary O'Neill loses his job at Wolves, goes into another club, saves them, stabilizes them for a couple of years, and then it becomes a cycle. I wonder if there's a worry, if there's that kind of perception that could grow with him. You look at Sean Dyche, for example. You know, he kept Burnley up on scraps pretty much as a budget. Goes into Everton when they're arguably at their lowest, keeps them up, and is arguably the perfect manager to work with what's going on there.
Agreed.
So I'll raise the question, obviously. For example, we could see Dyche get sacked 2-3 years down the line at Everton because Mashiri, if he's still there, decides, you know what?
Next season.
You know, whatever happens, we don't want you, etc. And Gary O'Neill goes into Everton and tries to save them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Another aspect with Everton as well, I say it all the time, I know I do, but it's the fans that help hold it back at the end of the day, because it's one of those fan bases with the style of play.
Well, the thing is, they weren't happy with Big Sam, were they?
No, they wanted him out, even though he was doing really well with them. Yeah,
he got them to 8th, which is roughly where they should have been anyway.
Exactly. And for the size of the club that they were at the time, as the progress they were making, that was very good. I mean, nowadays, could you imagine if someone said, right, Everton are going to finish 8th? That'd be an incredible season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What they've been through. But because he wasn't playing pretty football, out the door. And that just goes to show the sports of it.
Before I go to the next bit, just a simple question. Is there a worry that if a manager keeps taking these kind of jobs, like Gary O'Neill, for example, that the perception follows him, that he's a fireman almost?
Yes. Especially if it's always short tenures as well. Yeah.
Whether it's till the end of the season or whether it's 2-3 years, like comes in, saves them, stabilizes them, and then the owners go, thanks, but we're now... Yeah. And then I
also find with them as well, just to very quickly jump in, a prime example is Mick McCarthy, obviously getting Sunderland and Wolves up. But when you get really good things on your CV, when you go into your next jobs, you're expected to work miracles too quickly. And then that's when you either A, run out of steam, and then cause things to turn really sour. You build your team in, get your players in, and then when you get sacked, you leave them in a worse position. Or you're expected to do something too quickly, you're not given enough time, and then your credibility gets even worse and worse and worse. I find that with like a Steve Bruce.
Agreed.
Because in his previous job since then,
or even just taking any job, like when Big Sam left Everton, and then 6 months later he was linked to the Huddersfield job, and he didn't take that job because Huddersfield were unsavable at the time.
Yeah.
At least they were bottom at Christmas, and they looked like they had no hope of staying up, and they didn't have a lot of money, I think, to spend in January.
They had no money.
So I think it also comes down to the club you pick. Like Steve Bruce's picks over the last few years, like outside of when he went into Newcastle, like Sheffield Wednesday and West Brom, for example, I don't think were just a great fit.
Awful. Mm-hmm. The fit with both of them is because he's also managed Villa and also Sheffield United, which doesn't help.
Mm-hmm. He tends to do better at the first club he does.
Yes.
Birmingham, Sheffield United, Sunderland. He did well with them, and then went to their rivals and didn't do as great.
It was like Harry Redknapp when he went to Southampton. Like I remember when the Portsmouth fans were just they weren't happy that he went to Southampton, but when obviously they were watching him do such a terrible job, they were like, okay, this is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
You shouldn't have done that, but I'm glad you did.
Yes.
No worries.
That's where the credibility comes from.
I want to float a scenario, though, to you two, because we're now in an era where the old school names are almost being pushed out for new fashionable names, nice brand names rather, or fashionable football.
Yes,
and
correct.
And I will raise the question to both of you, where say you're a chairman or an owner or whatever, and you've been given the task at your club, whether it's bottom of the Premier League or bottom of the Championship, can be mid-season, can be end of the season.
Yep.
You've sacked your manager.
Mm-hmm.
You've got two options. You either go for a nice fashionable name abroad, maybe unproven at your level, whether it be in England at all, or like say Rayo Vallecano, for example, if they've got a guy who's playing really good stuff, that's not really like going to help you at Sheffield United, for example.
Pretty much.
Do you go for that, or do you go for a Sean Dyche or a Big Sam or a Gary O'Neill or even a David Moyes or a Nigel, someone of that ilk who comes in, uses some common sense, has their principles still, but just works with what they have, spends by their necessary means to solidify that team, keep them up, and stabilize them for 2 or 3 years. And then maybe if you want to, you go for the fashionable name after. So do you take that? Do you take that bigger risk early when you've got the chance, or do you think, no, let's keep this stable?
In my opinion, if you're going to go,
what's right.
If you're going to go for that fashionable name, the best time to do it is always in the summer, because if you gamble out of that summer transfer window, it's about 70% it's going to be a disaster. A, they can't bring in the players. B, they don't have a pre-season to let it gel in and really implement a style of play, because that's what I find with a lot of these managers from abroad who are unproven as well. They need that pre-season window to get things embedded. And at the end of the day, I think it's massively down to club philosophy. Like, I'll take my club, Cardiff City, for example. Our fans are a very peculiar fan base in the Championship.
That's for sure.
We do not, I mean, it's probably an understatement, but we do not care about style of play. I don't care what anyone says. I know there will be, like, I could probably count the amount of hipsters on hand, to be honest, but with us, it's about winning and winning as soon as possible. So if we can get a manager in like that, whether it's a big name, well, ideally, really, where it is a big name, but as long as we get that winning factor as soon as possible, then that is perfect for us, because it fits what the fans want to see and what they're expecting of the club. Like, for example,
absolutely,
I would rather us win, like, have 20% possession and win 2-0 at the weekend than play incredible football and get a draw and still lose. Because at the end of the day, we're not getting the points on the board. And that's just the way that Cardiff City has always been. And that our fans ultimately take it, because we're obsessed with winning. And that's probably because we've been deprived of it for so long. But it's always been like that, where it's just no matter what you do, win, win, win. But I think a lot of that beds down, and the reason we're starting to see these names being filtered out as well is because the emergence of technical directors and director of footballs as well. Because at the end of the day, it's been a game changer. That's what it's been. It's a culture shock to the game, and it's made it more relevant to how the game's played. It has.
So I completely agree.
Ultimately, it gives accountability and trust in a load of different areas, and takes a lot of time off the manager. Because, say, for example, if the manager had to juggle a million things, sort out all the recruitment, getting the players ready, etc., there's more avenues for it to go wrong, and disputes and falling out with the owners of the club, than if you have a director of football, a technical director, a chief executive, and stuff like that, and change the manager sort of title to head coach, which we're seeing a lot in the Premier League now. Like, you don't see managers anymore, you see head coaches. You see head coaches and directors of football.
Yeah, they're very specific about that. Managers nowadays. Most managers are specific, saying, I'm not this, I'm that.
I'm a head coach,
Yeah, and I do respect that. Like, Mourinho said that twice. I think he said it at Man United, and I think he said it at Roma as well. He's like, I'm not the manager, I'm the head coach.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he said it at Tottenham, but I know he did say it numerous times. I'm like, yeah, he is right.
Because did Mourinho have
at Man United he had Ed Woodward, so it doesn't really count.
Ed Woodward isn't a director of football.
At Tottenham, he had.
By the way,
someone I can
6-0
remember.
as well. By the way, guys.
He definitely had the director of football at Roma, because Roma were evident to get one of them in first.
Yeah, I know he did at Roma. Let me have a look. Tottenham. Tottenham. Yeah, they currently got Johan Lange in as director of football. When does he come in?
That's the one. He's actually quite good. Humble bloke as well.
2023. This is recent, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Who did Daniel
Very
Levy have before that?
Well, you know who? It was that Italian guy that got busted.
Paratici,
yeah.
He just wanted to show everybody Paratici.
Yeah, capital gains investigation.
Yeah. And he's still fucked. You won't see him at the club again.
He was the director of football under Conte.
Mm-hmm. He's the one that hired Conte in the first place.
And that's another scenario as well. Let me have a look.
For me, it's important as the director of football must ensure that whoever comes in must be that manager's preference, but also if you sack said manager, the follow-up has got to be similar ilk. It can't be just some random different. It has to be the same.
You mean like when West Brom sacked Pulis and brought in Pardew?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you sack someone, it has to be the right.
There has to be a pattern.
Yeah, it can't be wrong. You know what I mean? Like you can't fuck it up. And nobody ever gets that right. So hey ho.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a valid point though. Like I think at the end of the day, obviously it comes down to a lot of things, and you know, Nathan, obviously you mentioned club philosophy, but also where the club is. Do you know what I mean? It depends where the club is, and I think that at the end of the day, like you can want this big name to, you know, like you know how Brighton obviously went from Graham Potter to De Zerbi, for example.
Yeah. There
was a pattern there. There was a clear pattern. Maybe not to the English media who had no idea who De Zerbi was, but the board at Brighton saw a clear pattern, and that needs to be the case. I've said before on various shows, whether I can't remember if I said it here or on The Devil's Advocate, where I said that if Rangnick came back as like a consultant or a director of football and went, right, you know, when he was obviously a consultant, when he was the interim, if we kept him on and he went, right, we're going to go Hasenhüttl for 2 years, then we'll go Tuchel for 3 or 4 years, and then Nagelsmann for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Obviously, you'd think Hasenhüttl really, but there's a pattern there with those managers. There is a pattern.
It's all about having synchronicity with what you're doing. If you don't have synchronicity, then you're going nowhere, because that's the key that you lose in football. If it doesn't match up, then it's not going to work, and that's what's changing a lot in the game, and I think that's really good.
Like, for example, I've got to give you... I just remembered this absolute hilarity. Cardiff City, since, well, we had a director of football in, like, the 1980s, but Russell Slade became our director of football in 2016. Guess how long he lasted in the post?
A couple of weeks.
26 days.
Thought so.
And he's been our only director of football, which I find is just absolutely hilarious. Like, if you're going to try something, then actually try it. Like, that's just a shambles.
Oh, it is funny.
But that's, like you said, like everyone says, that's what happens when you put too much pressure on the managers to do everything. More things to go wrong.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. You're spot on.
Yeah, I think the way we saw what Cardiff did, for example, when they came up in 2013.
Yeah.
You sacked Malky Mackay. They sacked the director of football as well at one point, didn't
Ian
they?
Moody. Oh yeah, I forgot about Ian Moody as well. He was head of recruitment.
Head of recruitment. When did they sack him? Was it when they sacked Malky? Was it after the torrid summer they had? Or?
It was before Malky. It was when they overspent. Where is he?
Oh my god.
It's ridiculous.
Sorry, his name has two eyes. He apparently resigned. Nope, that's the wrong article.
That was at Palace, wasn't it?
Yep.
Gotta make sure you get your information correct, sir. You can make sure you get it correct.
Just give me his Wikipedia page. No.
Because that's everyone's idea. Just check out Wikipedia.
Yeah, because literally all it has is scandals and stuff.
Yep.
Ah, here we go. Oh my god, this is the article. I actually can't. Can I have a share screen, please, guys? Oh
share screen.
God.
Do I need to do it for you, or do you have to do it?
I'll do it. Oh my god!
Okay.
Every time I read this, it just fries my brain. How can you humanely do this as a Premier League club?
So this was 2 months after the transfer window. This was 2 months before Malky was sacked, and it was 3 months before they signed Kenwyne Jones.
Yes.
Hang on. When you look at some of those names there, Stephen Colker, Gary Medell, Fraser Campbell, for me, those aren't bad names.
Those are very good signings.
Colker,
minus Cornelius, of course.
Campbell, Premier League proven to extent, good in the Championship the previous year. You can't go wrong with Fraser Campbell, to be honest. If you were at that kind of,
Yeah. But like at the end of the day, Gary Medell at the same time was a ridiculous signing. Well, for any bottom half Premier League club.
You shouldn't.
Yeah,
they shouldn't have.
Sense.
So did they sack him because of like controversy, or was it because Vincent Town was like, "I'm not happy with you. You're speaking out of turn."
It was pretty much because he wasn't being a yes man. But as you can see here, like. So he came with Malky brought him in from Watford. Yeah. Because that's the thing that Malky Mackay and all of his staff were doing so well at Watford. So we poached him. I think it was like £1 million. All of his staff started off like a house on fire. But ultimately, he wasn't being a yes man with Vincent's hands. So out the door he goes for a guy who's painting the stadium. How not to run a football club, people.
Do you know what? He might have signed Shane Long in January if he stuck around.
Oh, more than likely.
You need to get off that rubbish.
Shane Long was good for Hull when he signed for them in January. If it wasn't Long, it was Jelavic.
Rubbish.
It wasn't.
Rubbish.
They were a great strike partnership for Hull.
Rubbish.
No, I'm promise you now, they were a good strike partnership for Hull. For 6 months they were together.
Kid, rubbish.
All right, well, we can agree to disagree.
Feels good to always win.
You didn't win that. I disagree with you. You haven't convinced me.
Rubbish.
I wonder if it gives me his detailed stats. I think he played 17 matches and scored like 4 goals. What were Jelavic's stats like? Sorry, for anyone listening, I'm doing some stat checking because I just want to... I'm just curious.
Naturally.
At least I would if it showed me. Because the thought process is obviously... Because my thought process with that was the fact that Cardiff went into that January window, got rid of Odemwingie and brought in Kenwyne Jones, who, as much as I drive the Kenwyne Jones bandwagon, he wasn't the answer. They needed someone a bit more Prem proven, like Jelavic, for example, who did move in that January window.
Agreed.
So, I mean, even though Adam Lafondra did end up joining Cardiff at a later date, not too later, to be fair, he would have been a better signing, I think, from Reading in the Championship to there.
He would have at the time, yeah.
Even Charlie Austin moved in the summer before to QPR.
That's
if
true.
Cardiff had signed
that would have been a great signing
from
for
Burnley instead of QPR, it would have been a brilliant signing instead of putting money on the table for Cornelius.
Yeah. I mean, that was Ian Moody's downfall, I think, because he got injured straight away. Tan had a hissy fit and out he went.
Yeah.
Why did
we
you
can see
sign
that.
Cornelius? I don't understand that.
He was so hyped at the time. That's the main reason. He was like scoring goals in Europe, everything. And when he came in for 8 million, everyone was like, okay, this is set to be a really good signing. It was like, say, for example, Ollie Watkins coming into the Premier League, signing from Brentford, one of those sorts of signings.
It's always wise to never try to understand something that makes no sense in the first place.
Yeah. This is me trying to get down to the bare bones and defend them.
Stephen Naismith.
Yeah.
Would have worked in that Cardiff side.
Yeah.
Because you've got to remember, Naismith was a really good forward player actually in the Premier League. But when you look at their recruitment, you looked a lot like players from Scottish leagues or Championship experience, even some young talent. And you needed defensive reinforcements as well.
Yeah.
And Cardiff had some. There were some decent players moving around. You could have got Ryan Bertrand on loan instead of Fabio Da Silva, for example, if Malky was still there. Bertrand went to Aston Villa for 6 months on loan.
Yeah, exactly.
But you see the point I'm making. I think the bottom line is Malky was more proven than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Malky might have kept them up even with better recruitment.
That's the most frustrating thing. We would have stayed up because we didn't hit the relegation zone under Malky the whole first half of that season.
Yeah, I think
second Solskjaer comes in, down we go.
But you've got. I don't think you can put the blame on Solskjaer for that because he was out of his depth. He'd never managed in the Premier League before. He'd never managed in a relegation battle before.
And not only that, he was also working under one of the worst owners in Premier League history as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you had a recruitment policy that was very much like, Ollie, you got any guys at United who might give you a hand? Wilfried Zaha, Fabio Da Silva, for example.
And then Hossein Hoff of Norway as well.
Kind of what Ten Hag is doing right now at United.
Yeah.
It's literally Ten Hag is following his own personal yellow pages. That's what Ollie did back then because there was no recruitment above him. So I just think that at the end of the day, firstly, back to the management segment, I think old school managers who are proven, for me, would be a better shout, especially in mid-season when you're down the league, when you're in the relegation zone or just above, and it's not looking good. But Reece and Nathan, you're both right that there needs to be a sense of continuity. Mm-hmm. When West Brom sacked Pulis, I believe it was October, they sacked him. Allardyce was still available. Allardyce, arguably, I know it's a very easy name to throw in there, but he would have been the direct fit for that side. And then you go into January, some signings would have been made. I can't remember if I know West Brom signed Daniel Sturridge on loan. I can't remember if they did much else. I'm not going to bother looking into that now, but there needs to be a sense of continuity with that. There needs to be a pattern. Yeah. And outside of that, you guys mentioned the important bit about head coaches now. That's the thing. Head coaches were a thing in the early 2010s. Roy Hodgson was the West Brom head coach, but not many people really saw that or knew what that meant, really.
They just thought, he's just making a different name for himself, but he didn't realise that when he was at Fulham or Liverpool, for example, he had the strings being pulled up above him, doing the work for him.
Yeah, exactly. And now, when you've got technical directors or directors of football, you see how much of an influence they have with a lot of things. You know, if you've got an adequate recruitment structure above, for example, then the manager's just working with the players he gets, which sounds bad in some instances, but when you do the due diligence that some of these people upstairs do, where they go, he's going to fit exactly as a replacement in this team.
If you want to see a good example of a director of football working really well, or a technical director, etc., with owners, watch Newcastle Till I Die.
You mean Newcastle's Amazon Prime?
Yeah, whatever. I can't remember what it's called.
I haven't
with
watched
Dan
that yet,
Ashworth.
actually.
Yeah. It's really good, actually. But he showed, for example, prime example, Eddie Howe was like, right, I need a winger. Dan Ashworth goes to the board and says, right, here's all the candidates. Let's get.
We think Anthony Gordon is the man because this.
He will work perfectly into what Eddie Howe wants, and this is why. So Eddie Howe and it's broken down so well, and then the owners pursue it. So that means Eddie Howe can focus on the team instead of fighting over transfers every 5 minutes.
Exactly, and transfers do cause problems in the boardroom. You know, football club politics. You know, Malky Mackay, Vincent Tan, Ian Moody. Transfers would have been a problem. Vincent Tan's like, right, we've got money on the table. Let's go for big names, or let's go for these guys. And Ian Moody, Malky Mackay, looking at him like, no, Prem proven. And you see, it was
like the time when he said, "Why hasn't David Marshall scored any goals?" There's your problem, which just caused him to be an absolute comedian.
The guy who probably delayed your relegation.
Yeah.
Should have scored more goals. Yeah, 100%. Hell.
I know.
It's always fun.
Gents,
it's always fun.
We've hit just over 2 hours.
Yeah, we have.
Do either of you have any parting comments for this evening?
To everyone that's watched tonight, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's not been the most
smashed it, lads.
Energetic, but it definitely has been a more different type of show. Obviously, we're just trying to maintain some good content for everyone and just keep things going. Next week we'll be back normal and we'll have some fun. Probably review. Well, we'll need to review Man United Liverpool 2 weeks on Monday. That's going to be a fun visit for me.
Reece is going to be there. Reece is going to be there.
Yeah, I've got tickets for the match. I'll be at Old Trafford next Sunday. This bastard ain't even going. I invited him to go and he won't even go.
You didn't invite me. Did you invite me?
You were literally in terms of like who's available, like the ticket was offered to you. Yeah. Not from me, it was offered to you.
I wasn't your first pick, let's be honest.
I didn't know who to pick though, that's the thing. I was already taking one anyway, but like Keenan asked if you wanted to do it, so
I would have loved to, but unfortunately I'm just working that weekend and it's too short notice for me to take it off, sadly. And it's an important weekend, so I do apologise.
I don't know who's gonna go. If you wanna go, then let me know. But I'm definitely gonna go just to experience the atmosphere, win or lose.
Yeah. Well, it's at Old Trafford, isn't it? So hopefully at least before the game, hopefully the atmosphere will be what we know Old Trafford can be. And let's just hope
we'll find out.
Let's just hope
I won't need head and shoulders at least. I won't need head and shoulders, so that's okay.
That's fair enough. But yeah, we from the World of Football podcast wish you luck with that, Reece. Nathan?
Yes.
Any
no comments except we got Huddersfield on Wednesday night. Please get some more points on the board. So to be honest,
you're losing.
If we beat Huddersfield, let's get the 3 points against Swansea, then we'll be on the beach. But most importantly, if anyone's seen on Twitter, 125-year centenary something has come out. Don't mess this up. There's my parting comments. What a show.
If they mess it up, I'm putting, those kit designs I made for you a few months back, I'm releasing them. It's like, this is what you could have done. This is what you could have done, New Balance. And this is what you ended up with.
The thing is, the club will mess it up. Everyone wants our badge back. They won't do it.
Tan will take the cheapest option and there'll be a bit of red in there.
Yeah. I mean, look at the badge at the moment. We can see here. Oh, there's a little worm on there. I'm going to make it red.
It's not even a dragon.
The badge
it's
is
a
terrible.
worm.
It is a worm. It's terrible.
Surprised they don't call you the red
just
worms
funny.
instead of the bluebirds.
I know.
Red worms.
Oh, we just need the red gone. I want my badge back.
Oh, I want my club back.
I know. The day will come. The day will come. I mean, it's only been 14 years.
Yeah, it'll be another 14.
Guys,
Smash
where
it.
can people find you? Where can they abuse you?
All in the description, lads.
Devil's Rising and the Weekly Steel Chair. And here. You can find me in most places, but they're like the main queue. Oh, and Friday, of course, new games out. So it'll be on Saturday. I've got
Friday, is it, Reece?
It's the 8th. Comes out on the 8th, so yeah.
The 5th?
Well, my version anyway.
Ah,
well, that depends on which one I'm buying. I can't tell you, but there will definitely be extra content for the steel chair, particularly from the gaming front. Because obviously the game will be out, so obviously we want to test it, review it, have some fun. Also, I've got the show on Sunday. That's going to be funny when me and Ailey clash over what was better, Elimination Chamber or AEW Revolution. I already know the answer to that. It was Revolution, but in the circumstance of that, we're definitely going to clash over that. But in the meantime, thanks all for watching. It's been a pleasure.
Smashed it.
From all of us from the World of Football podcast, we hope you enjoyed. Thank you for staying with us. We wish you all the best, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So, from all three of us, good night.
It's all Hampton Little.
Live on YouTube. And listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.